So, thank you very much, everybody, for being here, and especially Jennifer and Alex for counting on me. So, I'm at the anthropology department. I'm a graduate student in sociocultural anthropology. So, what I'm going to present today are not the results of a very extended research using GIS, but rather an invitation to think about space and the spatial dimensions of ethnographic fieldwork in sociocultural anthropology. So the first thing I have to say is that I'm not a technology person. That's quite provocative here, I guess. And you'll see that from my PowerPoint too. But when I got here last year, I'm a second year, I got to know what GIS was and what were the possible applications it had. And I started to think of my research in terms of space, right? Thanks to people like Andrew or Alex who are have been using GIS during their own research. So I basically work in Barcelona, which is my hometown in Spain, and I work with Muslims of all backgrounds, ages, and origins. And I'm interested in the ways they deal with the shortage of communal spaces, such as mosques, for example, and how they develop community through Islamic proselytizing. Okay. So how can we use maps in sociocultural anthropology? So first of all, I want to say that creating maps are a fieldwork methodology. Second, I would also say that using maps can also help as an explanatory and narrative tool of ethnography. And third, I would also argue that maps also contribute to strengthen and build our theoretical argument in terms of space, right? So as I said, I work in Spain, I work in Barcelona, which is in the northeast of the country, and specifically, I work in the streets of the city. So I first started working and doing ethnography in the center of the city, in particular in a neighborhood called Raval. It's in the old part of the city. And for some reason, we all sociocultural anthropologists, when we want to work about Muslims in the city, again, for some reason, we tend to look at places of worship, mosques. Here they are. In this part of the city, there are 5. And when I got there, I saw that all of them were pretty small, and they were all located at the bottom of old buildings, barely hosting a couple of hundreds of people. So given this not only shortage of spaces, but also shortage of space in all of these spaces, Muslims obviously find alternatives. That happens especially for special events, such as the end of Ramadan, or the celebration of the Muslim New Year's Eve, or Eid al-Adha, the festival of the Lamb. But that also happens during weekends, when many of these Muslims meet in all these public spaces to hold meetings in which they preach, they pray, and they also discuss about topics related to religion, right? So, again, these are the small, tiny places of worship of the neighborhood that compose the Islamic landscape of the city if we look only at mosques. But this landscape is a little bit broader if we also include these public spaces which are regularly used for these gatherings, but not exclusively related to religious practice. And then I thought, what if obviously, Muslims are not only Muslims during weekends, right? Or during community meetings. So what if I just shadow them? That's becoming a technical term in sociocultural anthropology, which means basically accompanying them during their daily routines. So what I saw is that proselytizing went beyond these public gatherings and beyond preaching and praying and discussing in fixed, stable architectural spaces, whether public or not. And this proselytizing consisted also of distributing booklets with religious content, collecting funding at shops, for example, halal groceries, Islamic groceries, or for example, directly knocking doors of private homes and groceries, going door to door, attracting audiences for the meetings and also readers for the booklets that they were also distributing. So from the small tiny places we ended up having this. This was true for the first location where I started doing fieldwork in the city. This was also true for other locations where I also extended my fieldwork. And this was also true for broader spaces in the city in which I was also accompanying all these people during their everyday lives. So, what does all this mean? First of all, at a methodological level, I intend to build models in which I am going to relate, or I plan to relate, spaces of the city with daily activities that are not exclusively religious, such as distributing booklets, for example, but also non-religious, such as work environments that are used for other purposes simultaneously. Second, at a theoretical level, these models can be used for arguing that proselytizing and religious practice and authority not only take place in fixed, stable architectural spaces, but are also mobile. And actually, I would also argue that most of the time they take place outside these mosques, places of worship, places easily identifiable as Islamic in this case. And third, also at a theoretical level, I will argue that the circumstances of life in the city, all these unexpected situations at work, during free time, leisure, at home, in public spaces, shape the strategies of these Muslims in order to extend this proselytizing to their neighbors. And that's all for today. Thank you.